And welcome back. It's speed round day. Technically, yesterday was, but I got kind of stricken, not with a migraine, but a really bad headache. And I just come back from the movie, so I was exhausted. I literally went to bed like almost like 8:30. I was that tired. So I did not get around to doing the speed round, which was supposed to be yesterday. So you're going to get the speed round plus the extra Who Would one today, as well as the Double Wars Prada 2 review later on. But starting us off from J City, we have the question of who wins in a fight, Captain Marvel or Starfire? And this really just comes down to their hacks. I don't believe Starfire has any real energy absorption capability. She might be able to absorb some levels like solar radiation, all that, but in terms of straight energy absorption, Captain Marvel can literally just absorb everything she throws at her. And unlike Starfire, well, they both have enhanced physiologies, but Captain Marvel's very much outclasses her own, especially if she goes binary. That's kind of the end game there. So yeah, no, Captain Marvel wins that fight. Let's see. And then coming to us from where are you now? Phantom of Night. We have the question of who wins in a fight, the Leprechaun and the Gremlin or Gremlins versus Critter or Critters versus Chucky. And this is actually pretty easy, even though this is a 2-on-2 giant mesh of a horror creature fight. Only one of these guys is straight up magic to the level of being kind of broken. Chucky does have magic, but it's mostly voodoo. In fact, it's almost predominantly voodoo. Whereas the Leprechaun can just boop, make something exist, make something not exist. He can manipulate things to whatever degree he has. Beyond that, unlike the rest of these guys, Leprechaun doesn't have a weakness that can be exploited. His biggest weakness is a 4-leaf clover to weaken him, and then you could kill him in theory. Otherwise, apart from throwing shoes at him to temporarily stall him, or iron, there's no real effective way to stop him unless you just had more powerful magic, which none of these guys have. So, and then if we're just saying battle of attrition with the Gremlins versus the Critters, that's a little bit more difficult, but I would still argue the Critters are more, A, they're more intelligent. They can do space travel. B, they actually have weaponry with I think it's poisonous quills. And they can literally just, like, strip a carcass bare in seconds. So I'd actually go Leprechaun and Gremlins on that in the long run. That means that the Gremlins would still give the Leprechauns, the Gremlins would still give the Critters a bit of a fight, and then Chucky's just kind of there. Even though Chucky has voodoo, it's not like it's used in a combative way. All right, then. So then coming to us from, let's see if I can find the name. Where's the name? Seriously, where is the name? Oh, here we go. James, is it James Val Jr.? Asked the question, who wins in a fight, Jeff the Killer or Bagul? Now, okay, look. I know that there are stories where he's like the proxy for Slender Man, all that, but I got to look at it from the general standpoint of what their base powers are. Occasionally I can maybe go beyond that front, but that's generally what I'm looking at here. Like, what's the most consistent version of this character? And Jeff the Killer is just that, a killer. He's a psychopath. You know, he enjoys inflicting pain, all that. Ugh, sorry, cracking the neck a little bit. Whereas Bagul is a demon. He's this evil spirit demon that just, possesses, tortures, all that, and manipulates and corrupts. He doesn't have an effective means to stop Bagul. So I'm going to go Bagul in that fight. Despite that Bagul is not he's not really a fighter in the general sense. Then coming to us from Grand Admiral Squid, we have the question of who wins in a fight. Sub-Zero versus Rain, both from Mortal Kombat. Now this just comes down to who do you think, because technically speaking, any one character can beat any other character in that game because of the style of game. If you're playing that character and you win, that character technically can beat that character, can't they? If we are going by the lore, though, well, then I'm guessing it should be Rain, who controls the powers of water and lightning, and is an elder god. That, I think, is the big thing here. Even though Sub-Zero is initially I was Sub-Zero until I actually looked up, Rain's an elder god like Raiden and Shao Kahn. So yeah, no, he should be more powerful overall in just the general sense than Sub-Zero. Now, the fact that he controls the water, though, does give Sub-Zero a little bit of leeway here because he can just freeze water outright. He is Sub-Zero. He manipulates freezing cold and ice. But in the grand scheme of things, I'd still go Rain because not only does he control water, he controls lightning as well, and that's a level of power that really is not going to be something Sub-Zero can normally fight against. So then coming to us from, let's see here now. Oh, crap, I forgot one. I knew I forgot one. I knew I forgot to add one. Hold on. Well, okay, let me see here. Where did you go? Where'd you go from? Where'd you go? Cotton Eye Joe. I'll have this one up, and then I gotta get the other one up. So from Goku Geo Knuckles, we have Kenpachi versus UI Goku. And unfortunately, as much as I love my man Kenpachi here, this one is very much going to Goku. The Bleach unit, and we'll have another Bleach one in a little bit too, actually. But the Bleach universe does scale to a high versal, low multiversal range. It is not, I repeat, it's not as weak as a lot of people want to make it out to be. But that said, however, it's also not an infallible universe. It's hardly, when we're talking about multiversal scaling, it's really not the same. Man, okay, that's unfortunate. I thought I did that image. All right, I'll just have to discuss that. Oh, there you are. I knew I did that image. So, unfortunately, Kenpachi would give base Goku a problem for a little while. And even low levels of Super Saiyan Goku, I think. But as soon as Goku got serious and we go into UI Goku, Kenpachi's cooked. So, unfortunately, even though it gets into a low multiversal range, I would not put any unless the Bleach character has some supreme hacks like a Aizen, Yuaba, Soul King, or Ichibei. Unless there's something like that, there's no real way for a Bleach character to beat one of the higher end Dragon Ball characters. At least not consistently. And then this is the one I forgot to add from Frankie A. Furrow. We have Roronoa Zoro versus Sephiroth. And this just comes down to scaling. Technically speaking, not even technically, Zoro's the better swordsman. I fully believe that. Zoro is the better swordsman. And I'm only on, Water 7 arc right now in the manga. But I can already tell you he's just a far better swordsman. He actually has techniques. He has style. And I know he gets way stronger as the manga goes on. But I believe he knows how to use all three types of Haki, which is impressive. Very few people can do all three. But Sephiroth's scaling feats, he just has the supernova and then Zoro's cooked. He can't cut himself out of that dimension. He can't stop a supernova. He gets cooked, literally. And Sephiroth has a healing factor that can just keep stalling a fight out. Speed-wise, these guys actually might be relatively comparable to each other. But you also had, Materia? Sephiroth has that he can just access when he needs to. Yeah, no. Zoro is, as I said, literally cooked. So then coming to us from Shadow Diced? Shadow Dice Gaming. Danny Phantom versus the Flying Dutchman. Now this just all comes down to how much Toon Force leeway are you willing to give the Flying Dutchman? Because SpongeBob is a very Toon Forcey show. The problem is the Flying Dutchman himself has really not shown any spectacular feats, as far as I can recall. I know he had the movie recently. I didn't, unfortunately, go see it. But I don't think the Flying Dutchman would, no, I don't think the Flying Dutchman would beat Danny in the long run. So, just because, again, he just doesn't seem to have a huge amount of feats, and Danny has a lot of abilities and feats to back him up for beating Ghost, frankly, stronger than the Flying Dutchman. So I'd go Danny. Let's see. Then from, where is your name, sir? Soul Spartan, I think it is. Yep, Soul Spartan. We have McCree from Overwatch versus Black Mask. Both use a gun, but McCree's an actual, marksman. He's an actual, gunfighter. Not only that, I believe he does have a mechanical arm, so if this could get into hand-to-hand, he could just, boom, put him right in the ground with a punch. I go McCree. Then Freddie Hall asks the question, who wins in the fight? Saitama versus Mike Guy. Look, and straight martial arts guy wins. Because I remember that little that shorter arc where he's in a tournament with martial artists and is trying to compete against them. And he's just winning because he's got sheer power on his side. He isn't a skilled fighter. He is just, I'm going to throw punches and win. Unfortunately, he does scale into high complex. He easily scales into galactic, if not complex galactic, to low universal, simply on that Monster Garo and Hempy of blowing away all the stars in that vicinity. I mean, seriously, they blew because of the nature of how light travels in space. You shouldn't have been able to see the effects of that for a little while. But the fact that it was gone like instantly means they didn't just wipe out the stars. They wiped out every single light particle in there traveling towards them. That's how powerful that was. But you'll notice something. There's still black emptiness over there. It's not like they punched a hole in the universe. They didn't. Which means you really can't scale Saitama yet up to universal. But you can certainly scale him up to a high galactic level. Yeah, there's not a character in Naruto that could touch Saitama. Are you kidding me? So yeah, unfortunately, got to be Saitama. Then coming to us from, told you we had another one. Klaus John. I believe it's Klaus John. Klaus John. Jiren versus Ichigo. Same issue as Goku UI versus Kenpachi. Bleach scales into the low multiversal. Separate realms of reality, all that, pocket realms. But again, you're talking about someone whose power is capable of shaking an infinite void. It's just who can literally scale up to the highest of Dragon Ball characters at the time, minus Zeno. Even his God of Destruction is considered weaker than him. That's how powerful Jiren is. Whether we like him as a character or not is a completely irrelevant conversation. It's just that's how powerful Jiren is. Like Ichigo again could maybe box for a little bit, but nothing that would give him an edge. He doesn't have a hacks ability that would save him in this fight, so no. Jiren takes that. Then from I was about to say something else. And then from Carlos Blanco, Guts versus Doomsday. Again, nothing in the Berserker universe would even remotely scale them, honestly, even to like lower level like DC threats. I'm trying to think of a lower level DC threat than Doomsday that was still so powerful they really can't do much. Come on, I can think of something. I can think of something, right? Maxima. I don't know. We've been talking about Maxima, who's been going to possibly be in the next Superman movie. But Maxima's someone who can kind of trouble those with Superman for a little bit. Superman is ultimately stronger, but still. Like Maxima, for example. They can't handle that. They can't handle, they would struggle, Guts would struggle with Cyborg, just because of the more advanced technology. Like, it's not a world designed for beings like this. And this is a world that has devils and gods, but their devils and gods are chump change compared to this. Doomsday is always someone who broke out of the Phantom Zone with his bare fists. He's literally threatened the whole of reality. He became Time Breaker Doomsday, so he became intelligent with time manipulation powers. Like, there's no, and then even if he does manage to somehow hurt him, he's got a regenerative healing factor. Even if he manages to somehow kill him, he'll come back even stronger. Because he doesn't have a way to permanently put down Doomsday. Doomsday is just busted. So yeah, Guts loses. Then, coming to us from Dion Isaiah Knight, Goku versus Lobo. Now, I've heard a lot of people, I've seen a lot of scenarios online where people put a character against Lobo. It's like, Lobo trades blows with Superman. Lobo's generation is too great. I'm like, okay, yes. Lobo can duke it out with Superman, but Lobo is not as strong as Superman, nor is he stronger than Superman. In fact, remember, Superman is still always holding back. If Superman wanted to, he could splat Lobo instantly. Now, granted, Lobo will regenerate from that, but still. The reason I say that is because in terms of actual fighting ability, actual power scaling, and actual battlefield control, Goku should actually win this fight without any real difficulty. I mean, yes, Lobo may have the raw strength advantage over him, and he certainly's got the healing factor over him. But apart from that, Goku can still augment his powers augmented with his ki, which gets into the multiversal range. He's got his ki, which means he can literally fire an energy blast or Kamehameha to basically just keep Lobo at bay or just throw him into space. He could blow up the space hog, and therefore, Lobo's kind of just stuck. And he can just beat him in a straight fist fight. So, as much as I love the main man, I can't wait to see him in Supergirl. Goku takes this fight, I think. I know people love to. I try to overplay Goku as sometimes maybe I get it wrong on Goku. I admit that. Like the Sonic versus Goku fight, I still contend Goku probably could beat a lower level Sonic. Because it all depends on how you're judging the size of each respective universe and then scaling to the Dragon Ball universe, which is one universe is like 15 times larger than the average. But even I'll admit, maybe sometimes I'm a little too nice on Goku, but I don't think that's the case here. I think people are being a little bit more biased towards Lobo when they're trying to argue. Like, no, Lobo takes this. He's like, no, he does not. Anyway, last two. So from where are you? Sage Master. Yamamoto versus Caesar Clown. This is a scaling issue. Yamamoto is a being who was among the strongest in the Bleach universe. To repeat, some of the strongest individuals in the Bleach universe are certainly universal to low multiversal level threats. I don't know if Yamamoto. I've said Yamamoto's a multiversal level threat. Do I still stand by that? Yeah, I might still say low multiversal though. Like his power could destroy the entire dimension of the Soul Society if he kept it going. That means, and if he wanted to, he could. If he was say use the Zangan no Tachi and the Don guy, that would probably threaten a lot of that too. I don't know. Low multiversal is the best where I'd put him, but even still, he's at least a universal plus level threat, just because of the fact he can burn down an entire reality. And even if I didn't bring that into the equation, the fact is, Caesar Clan does not have an answer for Yamamoto in the least because he's got the gas fruit. Most gas is flammable. He literally can be lit up. Now, not every gas is flammable. Excuse me. Maybe he turns into a gas that isn't flammable. Okay, great. He's still going to be stuck in the immense heat that is Ryujin Jaka. Not to mention he has no answer for Kido. And this is not even taking into consideration, which I don't normally do, that Yamamoto is a spiritual being he wouldn't even be able to see unless Conquerors or Perception Haki allows you to do that. So, yeah, no, Yamamoto would clear that with no issue whatsoever. And then the last one for the speed round is another Bleach one. Oh, Bleach ones today. I believe it's White Sage who asked the question, who wins in a fight? Aizen, or the Kishin from Soul Eater. Now, I had to try to find a scaling for it. We know that the original Kishin was strong enough to give Death a problem, and Death is one who more or less created the world of Soul Eater. So Death does fall somewhere in the realm of a planetary plus level individual, arguably even more because of like reality shaping and all that. The problem just comes down to Aizen is someone who is comparable to a Soul King candidate, therefore comparable to someone who holds the fabric of three separate realities together, which means three separate universes. And that's passively. Then, if he's flexing his power, he's even stronger, and that's not even taking in his Kido Apparatus or Kyokusui Getsu, which literally will control all the Kishin senses. Madness be damned. So yeah, Aizen is just the more common collect in this. He is actually he's not mad, unlike the Kishin, who would probably be prone to make a mistake in a fight. So I'd have to go with Aizen in this fight, personally. But this is all just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Later.